This is not my story, but my grandfather's. This incident happened in Tijuana, Mexico, in the late 70s, when my grandfather was in his late teens. One evening, he decided to go to the movies alone. He arrived at the theater, bought his ticket, and sat down in the theater. While he was watching the movie, for some reason, he decided to look around. That's when he noticed this woman sitting nearby. They looked at each other for a moment, and the woman walked over and sat down next to my grandfather. They started holding hands, and then, drawn by the strange atmosphere, they started kissing. Meanwhile, he noticed that she was unnaturally cold. He gave her his jacket as a friendly gesture, and soon the movie was over. They were planning to walk across the street to a bar, but she said that she needed to use the bathroom. She told him, just wait outside the bathroom. She gave him his jacket back and gave him a ring, saying that she was actually homeless. My grandfather was a little taken aback, but he didn't think much of it and decided to wait outside the bathroom as she had said. But 5 minutes passed, and she still hadn't come out of the bathroom. My grandfather watched all the other women come out of the bathroom except for that woman. And after 10 minutes, she still hadn't come out. He went to the manager, asked if he had seen anyone like that woman in the bathroom. The manager told my grandfather that he had never seen anyone like that. My grandfather insisted that the manager go and check. When the manager checked, the woman was not in the bathroom. My grandfather was about to give up looking for her, but then he remembered that during a conversation with the woman earlier, she'd mentioned that she worked at the bar that they were going to go to. So my grandfather decided to leave the theater, walked to the bar, smoked a cigarette, and looked around. He met the bartender, asked him about the woman, and the bartender said that he didn't know any women like that working there, and that he would ask the owner. After a few minutes, the owner approaches my grandfather, asks again, who was he looking for? My grandfather described the woman again, and suddenly, the owner's face changed. His expression became solemn, and he looked at my grandfather as if he were crazy. Then my grandfather showed him the ring that she had given him in the theater, and the owner looked shocked. He told my grandfather that it couldn't be true. My grandfather asked what he meant by that, and the owner told him the woman had been murdered about a year ago. My grandfather was shocked, left the bar, and went home. This incident stuck in his memory. He still thinks about it sometimes. Sometimes he doubts the situation, tells himself that the owner just thought of the wrong woman, but then he remembers the ring he showed the owner couldn't be another woman. He doesn't know if it was a spirit of some kind, a doppelganger, but all he knows is that the girl he met that night was not a normal human being. Also, the fact that she was unusually cold still makes him uneasy. He still thinks about what happened that night.
Hi, I'm Diana, and I live in the United States. This happened in Massachusetts, and is one of the reasons I became a horror junkie, because the paranormal seemed to follow me throughout my childhood. Everything I'm about to say is the truth, exactly as I remember it. Most of my childhood is a blur, but this memory has never faded. I think we all struggle to recall much of when we were babies. It feels like an extended period of nothingness. But for me, there's one thing I remember with absolute clarity. When I was a baby, up until I was 2, my family lived in the basement of a stranger's house. We had almost nothing, just a mattress on the floor, 2 cabinets, and a few pieces of sparse furniture in a small, dusty room. My parents were immigrants, and we were just getting by. The details of that space are hazy now, but what happened at night is something I'll never forget. Every evening, my loving, protective parents would tuck my sister and I onto the mattress while they took the floor. The lights would go out, and one by one we would fall asleep. But in the middle of the night, I would wake up, and every time I saw them, big, white hands, like those of a mime reaching out from beneath the cabinet. The hands moved with deliberate motions, drawing shapes in the air, waving, beckoning. I remember staring, transfixed. Sometimes I would reach out, trying to touch them, but before I could, my mother would stir, pull me back, and lull me to sleep. This happened over and over. I remember those hands so vividly. They looked normal, but they weren't. And what disturbed me the most was that I never saw who or what they were attached to. When I was 2, we moved into a real home, leaving that basement for good. And somehow, the memories of the hands faded, buried under the warmth of a new life, until I turned 14 years old. That day, my older sister and I were reminiscing about our childhood, laughing about our old home, until she asked me,
"Did you ever see those hands?"
I froze. My stomach dropped.
"What hands?"
I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She hesitated before continuing.
"The hands that came from under the cabinet at night. The white ones, they would reach for us."
My heart pounded. I felt like I couldn't breathe. How did she see them too? I had spent years convincing myself they weren't real, that they were just the overactive imagination of a child. But she saw them as well. We sat there, shaken, trading details. How they moved, how they looked, how we never saw a body attached to them. Was that basement haunted? Were those hands trying to take us? Later, I did some research and I found something chilling. Many people have reported seeing similar hands during childhood, but not white ones. Theirs were green or black.
This is a scary incident that happened to me when I was a college student. I remember it was the day after Halloween when I was a freshman. You'll soon find out why I remember this. I remember waking up late in the morning, having to get up quickly to get to campus for my chemistry lab. My roommate was probably disturbed as I kept making noise and rushing to head out. Since no buses would come at this time, I had no choice but to walk all the way to campus, which is like a 10 to 15 minute walk from my dorm. As I was walking on the street, it was quiet. There weren't that many students around, especially after a Halloween weekend. I'm not surprised. As I made my way uphill, I suddenly saw a large, tall man wearing what looked to be a Scream Ghostface costume, staring at an old homeless man that seemed to be curled up with his blanket on a bench. I was taken aback, since Halloween was over now, and now that classes have resumed, it's a bit odd seeing this man dressed up at such early time in the morning. At first, I didn't know what to make of it, knowing I had to hurry to my lab to be allowed inside, so I didn't pay much attention. However, something felt off as I passed by. This guy with the Scream Ghostface costume kept staring at me as I made my way closer to campus. I kept looking back, and he kept standing next to the homeless man, staring at me. That time felt very long. I felt uneasy that if I kept looking at him, he would come towards me, so I thought I should hurry to the lab. However, after walking a little, I suddenly felt this chill down my spine, and when I turned around, the homeless man and the Ghostface man were gone. I was shocked. Could two people just disappear in such a short amount of time? Panicking, I ran towards campus, headed inside, afraid of this incident. What was even weirder is that after a couple of days later, the homeless man that's always sleeping on this bench never returned. A couple of students that I've talked to apparently said he was taken by the police for disturbing the peace, but I know that can't be true. Even so, my excitement towards Halloween has always been disturbed by this incident, even to this day.